The Air 3 and the Mini 4 Pro just received a significant update, and just when I thought that I can finally pick a favorite drone amongst these two plus the Mavic 3, I went out to the field, tested a few things, and I'm still not so confident. Let's get right into this update. What's going on, guys? This is Eddie, aka Mr. Eddie Nunez, and before we get into the massive updates of the Air 3 and the Mini 4 Pro, check out my Ray-Ban Metas. Now, I've had these for a couple of weeks now. I've been testing them out. They're very popular amongst the content creators. You press a button and it starts recording, so I'm going to be recording what I see now. This is probably going to be a different video. We're definitely not talking about the Ray-Ban Metas, but the reason why I'm mentioning it is because I got them extra large by mistake, and they're absolutely huge. They are transitional though, but anyway, I'm getting too much into the details, but these are actually pretty cool and very handy. Now let's talk about what really matters and the reason you probably clicked this video. The Air 3 and the Mini 4 Pro receive a massive firmware update where now you can fly these drones with the FPV goggles, the Integras, so you can put them into FPV mode, which is great if you want to get your feet wet. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. It also includes vision assist, which is game changer. I saw a couple of reviews where, you know, a couple of YouTubers mentioned game changer, and the community was kind of upset and in an uproar saying, you know, is this game changer? Well, it actually is game changer to be added to the Mini 4 and the Air 3. And as part of the intro, right, I said, you know, I thought that this firmware update was going to practically allow me to select one single drone amongst the three, because vision assist is one of those things that I truly love and depend on so much on my Mavic 3 Pro, that now having it on these two drones, I thought was going to simplify things, but we'll get to that in a second. It also now includes auto, I forget what they're calling it, but auto ActiveTrack, where it's automatically, you know, doing a circle, a helix, it's tracking you automatically. So as you move, it's doing all these things, and we're going to talk about that as well in a second. It also added some really cool photo modes, so like Sphere photos with the 3x tele lens on the Air 3, which I think is pretty cool. Some ridiculous panorama shot. It takes about like 150, 170 shots, and you can get like that Sphere Panorama, which I haven't tested out just yet. Now you can also turn off these sensors. You can turn off the sensors at the bottom of these drones. That comes in really handy when you are landing in something that's moving, where you're landing on your hands and you don't want your hand catching and you don't want position hold. You can turn that off, but there's a caution to that, which I'll also get to in a second. And auto exposure bracketed shots. Now you can shoot up to 5 using the 48 megapixel camera or lens on the Air 3, which is also great. I love when DJI gives us these firmware updates. These firmware updates came out on December 21st, and I'll go ahead and list them here now. I'll list the firmware update and all that it included for the Mini 4 Pro, and then all that it included for the Air 3. I'll list them here on the screen now, because although they're very similar, they do differ just slightly, because the Air 3 has the 3x medium tele lens, which obviously the Mini 4 doesn't. But this firmware did come out on December 21st, right in time for the holidays. And that's one thing that I love about buying DJI products is, although yes, you're not getting this initially out the box when you're buying your drone, it is just amazing that they can surprise you. For example, right now I'm shooting on a Sony A1, which I paid $6,500 for, and I think it maybe got one update so far in I think 2 years that it's been out, and the update was simply bug fixes. These newer Sony cameras that are much more affordable have all these AI features, all these different tracking features on it, and the flagship Sony camera does not. So, you know, just putting that into perspective, when you think about DJI and all that they continue to do, the engineering that goes behind the scenes to update these drones, I think it is world class. And that is why I am such a DJI fanboy. And by the way, if you're going to be buying any of these drones, or you need any sort of DJI drones, please do make sure that you check out DroneWorks, because they are the official sponsor of this channel. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, I did watch every YouTuber video out there for this review. So 51 Drones, Original Dobo, Billy Kyle, Flypath, Drone Supremacy, you know, all those guys that do a phenomenal job testing these beta firmware out and giving feedback to DJI before it's released. And reading through some of the comments from, you know, consumers like us who are buying these drones and updating it and giving feedback about these firmware, I think the number one thing that I saw in the comments was using FPV goggles on these drones now. So you can use the DJI Integra goggles and you can bind them to the Air 3 or the Mini 4 Pro and go ahead and fly FPV. Now, of course, it's not full acro because these are GPS drones, but you will get the feeling of FPV. The cameras will bank in and out, and I actually think it's pretty cool. The only thing is that you're gonna need to buy the motion controller, the Motion Controller 2. I don't own the Motion Controller 2, so I can't really test this, but I hear that it's phenomenal. So for example, my buddy Russ, 51 Drones, I included a snippet of his video. Russ, please don't copy strike me, but I watched his video and his entire opening was all about the joy that he got from flying these camera drones in FPV mode using that Motion Controller 2. Russ is someone who truly wants to get into the FPV hobby. He has tried with the DJI FPV, he has tried with the Avata, however hasn't been, you know, much hasn't found success, I would say, in flying, probably because he's not practicing enough, but I'm sure with enough practice he'll get there. But FPV is not for all people, right? I know plenty of people that, you know, really truly love their camera drones. I know plenty of people that have flown the previous drones with the previous goggles in FPV mode and absolutely love it. So make sure you check out 51 Drones. I'll link him here now. I'll link his channel and his specific video. Make sure you check out his video to listen to all the benefits as to why he really loves the FPV mode on these two drones now with the latest update. And if you're gonna fly FPV with this drone, I actually recommend the Mini 4 Pro just because of its smaller compact factor. With FPV, one thing that's evident is that we all like to take risk. As you get more confident and comfortable, you're gonna want to go ahead and fly the GPS drone in FPV mode through tight obstacles. And when you look at the frame size, and this is folded, obviously I think, you know, the Mini 4 Pro is the better choice out of the two, or even, you know, the Mavic 3 Pro, which has been able to do this now for quite a while. So what I'm not gonna do is go through every single item of the firmware update for either the Air 3 or the Mini 4 Pro. I think I'm gonna talk about the 3 top features that I found was most interesting. I just, you know, shared one with you, which is flying FPV with these using the Integra goggles. The second one is ActiveTrack, but auto 360 ActiveTrack. And then the third is the vision assist. So let me first start with the vision assist. The vision assist mode on the Air 3 and the Mini 4 Pro by far, I think, is the best feature of this firmware update. That is something that when I experienced it on the Mavic 3 Pro, I said, wow, imagine if we had this in the Air 3, imagine if we had this in the Mini 4 Pro. Now, I thought that it's something that we would never have because perhaps, you know, the processors on these, especially on the Mini, may not be powerful enough to kind of handle all that processing that needs to happen in order to record, perhaps screen record as well while you're at it. Tapping into those sensors and showing you on the screen, allowing you to maneuver between the front sensors, the rear sensors, the side sensors. I thought we would never see that, and here we are. I think having those sensors is truly game changer, and I'm using that word game changer a lot because it annoys you guys, but it is game changing because ActiveTrack doesn't always work. The sensors, those, you cannot rely on the sensors. And we're going to get into a little mishap that I had here testing this out right here in this place that's wide open essentially. Can't always rely on the sensors to kind of save you from a mishap. You know, being able to tap into the screen and, you know, while you're doing a hyperlapse, just like I was doing today. Terrible hyperlapse, by the way. The containers are full, so they didn't have a lot of movement. But let me not digress. While I'm doing a hyperlapse, while I'm moving from side to side, while I'm flying from side to side, I want to be able to go ahead and see the direction that my drone is heading while also looking at my image quality. To me, that's almost flying like with two pilots. You think about the Inspire, you got an FPV camera, and then you have the, you know, the regular full frame camera at the bottom. This is almost essentially as flying the Inspire. The only thing is that it's a one-man show. It's you doing it all. But I have an FPV camera, which is now these omnidirectional sensors that we are allowed to tap into. Plus, I'm able to see my image from my main camera, which I think it is so freaking awesome to have this on a drone such as the Air 3 and the Mini 4 Pro. Now, with that being said, as I mentioned, we also did get auto 360 ActiveTrack. Now, I haven't been so much of a fan of ActiveTrack because I simply don't trust it. Every time I try to use it, it literally scares the living hell out of me. And today here at this monument that I'm in Bayonne, New Jersey, I decided, well, it's an open area. There are a few cables here, but when testing it on myself first, just walking around, I was testing it out with the Mini 4 because it is smaller. The Mini 4 tracked me phenomenal. It did do some little things where it made me nervous. So for example, we have these lampposts and it kind of went behind the lamppost while it's trying to do a helix and it's trying to do a circle. So that auto feature is cool. I can see where you can get some great dynamic shots. I think Ken Original Dobo in his video said that this is a great feature for Jake Sloan, and Jake has been doing these kind of shots for a long time manually, so I can only imagine how Jake is going to put this into use. But if you think about Jake's environment, he's usually in Alaska. Jake loves Alaska. He lives in Alaska. He flies in Alaska. He films in Alaska. He goes to the glaciers in Alaska, and the long story is Jake loves Alaska. But in Alaska, you have all these wide spaces available, and you know, this is the perfect time to use auto 360 ActiveTrack because you in a wide open environment. You have to set up your drone for success when you're using these features. Now here at this location, I decided, well, you know what, let me try doing the same with my vehicle now. So let me try to track my vehicle and let me turn on 360 ActiveTrack and let me turn it into auto mode. And guess what, this Mini had, and I wasn't even going fast in my vehicle, as you can see here in the video, but this Mini had a mind of its own. It literally crashed into cable wires twice. It crashed into this monument once. It bounced right off of it. I did kind of nick the propellers. You can't really see them because I already put this on and my hands are full. But you know, the one positive thing is that these drones are durable. So each time it just bounced right off. I didn't get any damage to the drone. It didn't actually fall, right? So it did hit these things, but it kind of was able to maneuver and continue flying, which I think is absolutely impressive. However, I don't want to put myself in any risk or risk injury to anybody or property damage to anything that's not mine. So for that reason, you know, I think it's a really cool feature to have. You just have to be really mindful of where you're flying in order to really, you know, put these things to great use and make sure that you get your drone back in one piece. So that pretty much concludes my video. Again, not going to go through every single feature of this firmware update. I think it is phenomenal that DJI is continuing to innovate and release and provide us more functionality to these drones, whether it's a high-end tier drone, a mid-tier drone, or a starter beginner drone. We have pretty much practically every single feature on all of these drones now. Let me know in the comments below, did you update your Air 3 or Mini 4 Pro? What are your thoughts of this firmware update? Did you try the Active 360, the Auto 360 ActiveTrack? I forget what they're calling it. Did you try FPV? Any of those things that you might have tried, let me know what your experience was. I did check out Ron Brown video recently, and he had great success using the auto ActiveTrack 360 mode, but he was at a beach. So, you know, again, you set your drone up for success and you make sure that you don't put it in harm's way. But that's pretty much it. That's all that I have. Thank you much for your support. Make sure that you check out DroneWorks if you're looking to buy any of these. And until next time, peace.